Hey, Jen Grace.
Hello, Jennifer Brown.
Hello. We are here again.
We are. We are. I feel like we're seeing a lot of each other on videos in front of other people lately, and I
Yeah,
think
we
that's a
are.
good thing.
I
It's
love
fun.
it. I love it. And I've known you forever. And welcome everybody that is coming on. You might or might not know that Jen and I go way back. And I credit you with, when I started my thought leader journey for real, I'd had JBC for many years, but I think you were one of the first cohort that kicked me in the butt and said, you need a book, you need a podcast,
Mhm.
like, let's get on it. And I
Yeah.
remember being very
Yeah.
reticent and you kind of
Mhm.
pushing, and you had to do a lot of pushing and cajoling and, supporting and promises, and have faith that like this is the right path and that you
Yeah.
can own it, and you can and should lean into it. And it was such beautiful advice. So I have like
Mm.
really fond memories, as hard as it was. Maybe you don't have fond memories.
No, I do too. But like, I remember, the one time where I was trying to like really get you to share more personal information, just in general, in terms of how you were showing up online and how resistant you were to that at first. But I think that is just a kind of a it's I think where everybody struggles with, because you're like, and like right now we're live streaming on LinkedIn, so I think that there's a perception that you should be very polished and very particular and very like, I am on this platform because I am looking for my next opportunity, my next job, my next move, my next whatever the thing is. So I think that a lot of times sharing personal things is something that really stresses people out, because they don't really know what that line is of sharing just a little bit and not too much. And I think it's great that like you personally went through that kind of like struggle of trying to figure out like where that balance lives, and managed to get through wonderfully, in my opinion. I feel like once you started like really sharing, and now like you see your emails, and I feel like there's such a personal like depth of who you are in them, which I think is
Yeah.
wonderful.
And like a strong steering hand. I think
Mhm.
people have a lot of judgments. It's amazing in the coaching work I'm doing that people literally, the first thing they say is like, it's so negative. I don't want negative comments. I don't want to be in the conflict.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, that is not my experience at
Mhm.
all. That if you build it, they will come. Like if you set the tone and you have a strong hand
Mhm.
and voice, I think the right people show up, and you actually won't be in the muck. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't come to you because you're generating, you're not, and ideally you're not like always in a controversy, but
Mhm.
you're actually like writing from a place of thought leadership. I mean, that's how I would define it: is you're adding value, you're clarifying, you're naming things, you're, connecting dots, you're synthesizing, you're doing something that's really valuable for people,
Mhm.
and doing so in a really personal way that builds trust. And I think people, it's amazing the under leveraging that I am noticing among people that really say they want to build businesses, say they
Mhm.
need clients,
Mhm.
say they're on this road, but the biases against, I guess, you know, uh, like even you, not just even using AI, but just like in general, being in the mix. I think there's a
Mhm.
huge intimidation factor. And I,
Mhm.
I think what we can get into today is how might AI help you over a hurdle, at least. And there's also judgments about AI too,
Yeah.
but how might it actually help you over that hurdle, that bias against, if I get into that, I'm going to get dragged into this place I don't want to be dragged into. And I have not found that in my, if anything, it's been so additive and so
Mhm.
necessary that I'm
Mhm.
in the mix.
Yeah. I agree for myself as well. And I'm curious from your perspective, if we think about, I think the benefit of both of what we have both done over the last 20 years is that we've both built a lot of content.
Mm,
And all of that content, once upon a time, was very labor intensive and very difficult to extract. Because I remember, over a decade ago when we were working on like a white paper of yours, and how many people it took to like really gather the knowledge to come together to put together a really concrete white paper that was educational and providing value, and also kind of a lead magnet into bringing people into the the marketing ecosystem. And yet now I think AI is a catalyst, because we have like a legitimate 2 decades of content to pull from. Whereas I think a lot of people who might be watching this, or maybe people who might come into our workshop in a couple of weeks, they might be coming from a complete zero zero sum. Like there's no content to start with. And so I think that that might be where a lot of the intimidation comes from, because I could take, this conversation and say, all right, help me write a Substack article based on what Jennifer and I had a conversation about today. And it knows enough about me because I have prompted it so much with so much of my voice, so many of my manuscripts to be able to say, all right, and I need it to be in my tone. And it's going to know exactly what that means. It's going to know exactly what yours means. But for someone who doesn't have content to begin with, I think maybe that is one of those hurdles that people are kind of struggling with. Would you how do you feel about that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you're totally right. And yet it is easier than ever. Like you and I had to do it analog, literally.
Very slowly.
Yeah, super slowly and by hand. I mean, truly, squeezing toothpaste out of the tube. Like it was just, and we had a machine underneath us and we have many years, right? So of course we've accumulated, and we've, you being a, publisher and me being a teacher and educator, naturally it's sort of, that is our currency, but I agree with you. But the message I want folks to receive is what you just said, Jen, is the way you've imbued your tools now with your voice, with your information, with your attitude, with your approach, with your vibe, with your energy, with the way you parse information and interpret it. There's I think people would be surprised how little you need to get started and to create volumes of potential content that you feel really good about, but you've got to get started. And I think what we're going to cover in the workshop we're going to do is, so what do you put into that machine? Like, what constitutes like source material for you? And there's so many ways to capture what's going on in your brain and in your heart and what you're reading and your reaction to what you're reading. And it's just this trick of kind of seeing yourself as somebody who's interpreting information and sort of adding your lens to it and then spinning it out into the world. And that is where it starts. It doesn't need to be like more complicated than that. And if it kicks up your imposter syndrome and all those fun things that we struggle with, you got to be on the lookout for that and say, hold on, like my opinion not just matters. This is not like a rah thing, but literally your understanding of the world around you, what's going on, is important and unique. Like no matter what, full stop. It's going to be unique. It's going to resonate with someone that has never been heard it articulated that way before. Yeah. And that's the person or the reader or the listener that you have to keep in mind and keep close, to say, my experience happened to me so that I could see something through it. And so that I could help somebody else make sense of their world in only the way that I can help them do that. Like that's
a unique perspective. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it seems like so basic and so simple in one way, and then also is not that easy in another way. And I'm curious, like if we think about, and I know we had our little banner across the screen a minute ago. So if anyone has questions, please drop them in the comments. We would love to make this interactive and chit chat with all of you, especially knowing like how you might be using AI right now. Because I think that, we do have our workshop coming up that will go into some real depth of how to use it, how to leverage it, like what are some ways. But I would love to just even share kind of like a quick starting point for someone to think about of how to start to populate that content in their AI of choice. So do you have like something, because I work with authors on a day-to-day basis, you're coaching on a day-to-day basis. So I'd love maybe if you want to start and kind of share, if you have a coaching client who is just starting from scratch, they don't have any content really in their system, what's one little quick win that you could provide today that would help somebody kind of get going?
A quick win. Yeah. Well, I would say simply record a voice memo as you're driving, walking, right? Whenever you feel creative, I think when we're in flow physically, sometimes things come to us, and it's a classic, like in the shower and you get the aha moment and you normally like run to the notepad or your phone or whatever and do a notes app, even whatever your favorite capture of choice is. But voice notes are really amazing because they can actually, on your iPhone, it literally now has a way to just export as a transcript into ChatGPT, literally. So I will have an idea for a Substack or an article or a LinkedIn post or a reaction to something, or just a thought that I'm having, like something that I'm feeling really strongly. And I will literally, the messy I will just like let it all flow, stream of consciousness, no punctuation, no finesse, no polishing, nothing, which is like really a great exercise for some of us. Just to let, put it out there and let the AI do the work of polishing and structuring, like, and asking, structure this for me. And make the, and then the more you can say the tone and the length and the level of detail and the audience, and thinking through, who do I want to read this? Who do I want to hear this? And what would they need to hear from it?
Yeah.
Like and then, what might I ask them to think about or do as a response to that? And that one piece, I always think of touch it once. I always think about this, like, can I just do one thing and then filter it and get it out in different formats, written in a way that works for that format? Because each format has its own, whether it's LinkedIn or Substack, has its own kind of vibe and length and style. So at the very least, this should take you all of like 10 minutes to do. And hitting send, I love Amber on my team, and I talk about this a lot, but auto scheduling something to publish and taking your hands off kind of removes like the, oh my goodness, I can pull it back at the last minute and cancel it. Like really like pushing yourself to hit publish or hit, share on Instagram stories, for example. It's that can be the intimidation that holds you back too. So you just gotta be in it. You just you have to do it.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because I was, making myself some notes before we hit record. And that is, one of the notes. So the exact same thing, will not repeat it. The other thing I think that might feel easy for people, perhaps, and this is something that I've been teaching authors for a decade, is when you have a book idea, there are two people that you want to connect with. You want to connect with somebody who knows you really well. So if I had a new book idea, I would absolutely be like, Jen, can I brainstorm this with you? I'm just going to like throw out some ideas, because a whole bunch of details and a whole bunch of intersections for me that you'd be able to say, I think that's a great idea, but did you think about this? Because we have the benefit of friendship and context. Then you ask someone who doesn't really know you well. And then you share kind of the same idea and the same story. And what you'll find is that the people who don't know you well are going to start to poke holes in your story differently, because they just don't know. Because they'll be like, oh, well, did this happen before that happened? Or when did you actually start your business? Or how does that actually matter? Versus someone that knows you really well, they know the nuance to be able to go in. So that way, when you're thinking about that story, it's fleshed out so differently, because now you have the benefit of these two complete extreme directions who understand your voice. And so that could be something that if someone's thinking about this, like, because I think opening up your phone, because I send myself voice memos all the time. Like when I'm like in the process of editing a book and an editor's like, oh, hey, don't forget to, like, I need a story for this. Like I will just ramble in my car, and then I will like, and this was before AI was a thing, ramble in my car, transcribe it, and then just send it over to the editor to be like, I think there's something helpful in this. Versus now, you can just ramble right directly into AI and have it like kick back and say, okay, I need, 3 paragraphs or 3 sentences that will fit into this larger context, and kind of drop it in. But I think that might be scary for people. So the other thing I would say is get on a Zoom, or, have a conversation face to face with somebody, and put your phone in the middle of the table and just hit record, and like allow it to be free flowing and natural. I think that's a really incredible way to kind of get information out of people as well. That just doesn't feel so scary.
I agree with you. I bring people to me to make me more comfortable with something that I need to generate content from. Like you and I, it's like 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or whatever. And what happens between you, but also the comfort to have somebody with you, could make a huge difference. And on Zoom, just hit record, and you can export it too into AI too. So there's so many ways to record yourself being you in your conversation. I mean, I might say, if you have a series of calls over the course of a week, record all of them, dump all the transcripts into something, and say, who am I? Like, who am I? What does it seem like is important to me? What keeps coming up in my conversations? What themes do I seem to bring up? Or what am I interested in? There's so many ways to kind of look at yourself with this tool. Who am I in this moment? And what do I seem to be resonating with? What's compelling about what I talk about, what I'm curious about? Jen, what you just said, I want to build on. You just said, bring on a human that knows you and a human that doesn't. You could also bring in an AI that knows you and an AI that doesn't. I thought that's where you were going to go. So I haven't used Gemini at all, say.
Yeah, me either. Great idea.
Yeah, but ChatGPT, I pay for the premium so that it has an archive about me and it keeps everything. So I can just jump in and ask at any point, like about a million aspects of my life, and it will go back and retrieve all that context. And I'll have to start again. But other ones have no context about you. And both are so helpful, right? To say, who is Jennifer Brown? You know, DEI thought leader or whatever. Like, what do you see about her?
Yeah.
Like checking in on your brand, checking in on how you're known out there, checking in on what is being said about you. What have you fed into the internet that now is coming back about you? Like it or not. But it tells you a lot about, do you like that brand? Do you like, do you agree with it? Is it who you are anymore?
Yeah.
Does it reflect who you want to be and who you are actively moving into being? Because I think a lot of us are in transition. So, you know, it's very interesting to think about kind of what it's not garbage in, garbage out. It's the good part, good version of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's really being intentional about what you're feeding into it about yourself as you're in process and in flux. And I think a lot of us are in that space right now too. So, you know, using this to kind of, I don't know, help you instead of being afraid of it. It's like this tremendous superpower that we've never really had access to before.
Yeah, we had to do it analog, like you were saying before. Like I remember, you know, because again, I've been helping authors for 10 years, and it's not just the writing of the book, but it's also like the brand around the book, and it's always the personal brand. And I would always tell people, like, go through your emails and find the last 5 emails where someone has complimented you or praised you, or find the last 5 introductions where someone is making an introduction between you and somebody else, and take all of that data and look at it and analyze it and see, what are people saying when they're introducing you, or what are people saying when they're thanking you. And now you can take all that and just dump it into AI and say, okay, I'm in the process of building my brand. This is what I have been doing. You know, this is the corporate job that I've had. This is what I've been up to for this amount of time. These are the things that people are frequently complimenting me on or introducing me by, and I'm trying to get here. Help me figure out what my new brand might look like. And the amount of ideas that will come from that is extraordinary. That used to have to be a human to human conversation. And this is where AI can be supplemental, because you don't want to just kind of like take it completely at face value. You still want to kind of like run it by people, you know, to be like, hey, I'm looking to kind of pivot my brand. This is the messaging I'm thinking about. Because if it's really off, your friends are going to be like, Jen, what are you doing here? Like, that is, that's a far departure. You might want to rein it in. Or, oh my God, this is amazing. You have my blessing, run for it. So I think that we still do need kind of checks and balances by humans in these processes, but the getting to the place to get the check and balance is exponentially faster than it's ever been in the past.
Right. That's so true. Jen, we have a question about, would having AI look at the copy on my website give it a sense of my voice and writing style? You know, how would you answer that? What advice would you give for that?
I think the short answer is probably yes. But I think it depends on how much copy is on the website and how much of you wrote the copy originally on the website.
And do you still agree with the copy? Is that you looking forward?
Yes. Yeah. I was actually having a strategy call with one of our authors last week, and we were looking at his website, and even the title tag of his website was so off. So like you pull up his website, it's hisname.com, you see it, and it's the complete opposite old version of him that he's trying to get away from. And I'm like, well, we got to like look at your website. But, you know, seeing it wasn't his voice. Like you can clearly see that he wrote the content there. So in that case, yes. But Mike, you know, it would just be a matter of, did you hire a copywriter to write that for you before? Do you have a blog that you're contributing to frequently that is in your style, especially if you have a blog? That is a great place to just import all of that data in and have it kind of like really assess it and say, okay, here's 6 articles that I wrote. Even if you don't have a blog, even if you're contributing to somebody else's, you know, here's 6 things that I wrote. I want to update my website copy to be more in alignment with this direction that I'm going through. Like you said, Jen, I'm going through a transition, and this is what I'm trying to do. Help me make sure that this is still in my voice, and see what it comes back with. There's always going to be editing necessary, always. You always have to read it. You can't just copy and paste what it's giving you. But the more you do that, the more it's going to be in your voice. And I think, Mike, I feel like you probably have a good sense that it's going to be in a good direction.
Yeah, I love that. I think, yes, use existing copy, but also tell the AI, here's what I'm morphing this into. Here's where I want to go with this. Here's what I want to change. Here's what I want to update or kind of shift slightly, you know, so you give it direction, and then ask it to rewrite website copy for my aspirational or my visionary my vision for myself, which is different. We always say mission and vision, right? And we use them interchangeably, but mission is who I am today and what I exist to do every day. Vision is what I aspire to, to shift in the world, or who I aspire to be or create. So it's today and tomorrow. It's constantly kind of looking at those two things. And we should be doing this, especially with the rate of change in our world. We should be doing this constantly. I think nobody expects you to kind of nail it down and be consistent for a long period of time. Maybe in the old days. It's funny. Somebody said to me the other day, they're like, wow, I've been like changing jobs a lot. And, now it's not a problem, but it used to be a problem back in the day. And they were just like observing that, people's quote unquote reputation and stability and predictability of like a resume, like it's so out the window these days. And I think that's true for brands. Like I kind of had the same brand for 20 years, Jen, like, and that was such a blessing. And yet I understand that I'm not sure that's the right thing to do anymore, because somebody like me needs to be kind of surfing along the top of the waves at this point. Like, you got to figure out, yes, you need deep roots, but you need to be super agile and really responsive these days too. So be just aware of this dynamic of what's static and mission and what is the vision and the aspiration, and like sort of address both in your writing and give that to AI and work on that with it.
Yeah. And you can even start in AI saying like, I'm really struggling to figure out what my mission statement is. Like can you give me some prompts? Can I answer some questions to help get it out of me what my mission is? Because I think that that's something that you and I are both taking for granted, that we both know what our missions and visions are and who we're here to serve and how we're trying to serve people. But if someone's in transition, they might not have those answers yet. And this is another great place to use AI, because I remember going into Manhattan and working with an agency probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, some time ago in the past, where we went through a whole exercise together in person to help me figure out like, what would the brand look like? And that cost a good amount of money. It cost my time to get into the city. It cost my time to be in a hotel overnight. And so like, now I can just use ChatGPT and do it in maybe an hour, and I can get at least a closer sense of it. And you still have to develop it over time, but it'll fast track you significantly. But again, I still think the human element is really important, to have someone with a branding background or the background that you're trying to aspire to be, and having them give their feedback on it. Because as we know, AI really does love to amp us up and pump us up, and it may not be doing that in a helpful way.
Yeah. Yes. I hope everybody knows what we're talking about, which is this tendency that's been programmed in, because of course they want eyeballs and stickiness. And so the programming has somehow been instructed to tell us how brilliant and wonderful we are. So even going as far as saying, please play devil's advocate, like tell me be realistic with me, like or be tough on me. Like shoot this full of holes. Tell me what's not going to work. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me why it's, not
why is this going to fail? Yeah.
That's what we need to. I know it feels great to be flattered, and just be aware that the tool is really good at that. But Jen, I saw a question come through. I don't see it anymore, but there's a question about the degree to which you have to disclose if you utilize AI in keynotes and books. It's an interesting question, and keynotes and books are different. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I have so many opinions that will take longer than the time that we have. However, I would just say, if you are using AI, I think you do want to disclose it. I was actually just reading the Independent Book Publishers Association. They put out a magazine every other month, and there was an article in it this past issue that was about kind of like marketing books or something like that. And right at the top in a box, it was a disclosure that says the author of this article used AI to generate the outline. So it wasn't even saying that they used it to generate the article itself. They were disclosing that they were using it just to create the outline, which I almost feel like seems extreme, like to be that specific. I think you could say you used AI to supplement parts of this content or whatever the case may be. I think, if it's still coming from you and you're still doing heavy editing and you're not just kind of taking something and copying and pasting it, I think you're okay. And again, this is why finding a tool that really works for you and really getting it to understand your voice, because at that point, it's really a supplement to what you're doing. It's not replacing what you're doing. So from a book standpoint, I definitely think having that kind of disclosure there would be helpful. But on the talk side, I have opinions, but I'm going to throw that to you instead, because you're the one on the stages more often.
Yeah, I would say for talks, it's a lot looser. I mean, it's really, to me, it's nobody's business. You're the one that has to own it and get on stage and deliver it and do it well. So I would not, it wouldn't even cross my mind to share, whether or not I used it to develop an outline for something. I mean, I think your prompts and your inputs are what is really your IP, and what you do well with your craft, your art, is, for me anyway, to, when I have a talk, to have tons of detailed conversations to prepare, where I'm collecting information and digesting it all and thinking about what would fit in a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. What does the audience need? What does the client want? What are their asks of me? What are some messages I need to weave in that are important to them? What order might that be delivered in? And I think it's unimportant, all the inputs you use and the ways that you put that together, like this beautiful puzzle that you then come up with some sort of like chronological, makes sense, linear, like journey that you take people on. I mean, I think, certainly AI can help that, but at the same time, you've got to sell it. You've got to deliver it. You have to make it sing. You've got to, give the inputs on the front end. So even if there's a moment that it might help you orient things or structure things or get some data that you need that's missing, there's no problem in that. So it's different than book writing, I think, because that's like long form, and it's so much about like the printed, that all you have is like what's on the page. But keynotes to me are sort of like, there's 15 different inputs in a really good talk.
And the legality of that is so different, because there's a lot of legality around AI in books in particular, which again, that's a whole other topic. So that's like a whole other area that you have to kind of like pay attention to, is just kind of a legal aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I know that we had a question from Natalie earlier, if we want to pop that up and try to address that quickly. I know we have only a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. But this is a tricky one that I have to say is outside of my knowledge. Jen, what about you? Are you aware of non-US policies?
I am not, but I think we could answer it from like a more broad standpoint, because the question is, are the rules of the game, like, I think the rules of the game different, and I'm sure the technical answer to that is absolutely, because the US is doing whatever it pleases, and then there's other countries that have more structure around things. But I think if you're using it ethically, and you're using it responsibly, and you're using your own inputs to create what the output is, I think in that case it's probably not problematic. And so that's kind of where my mind went to, is that if you're using your own guardrails, I don't think we have to be relying on like compliance and other things, because there's a lot of industries that just are not going to support the use of AI. And that's, a whole other kind of can of worms to deal with. But if we're talking from the lens of thought leadership, I think, again, if you're just using it ethically for how you would do it, I think it's probably, the rules of the game are relatively the same, would be my guess. But it is a little outside of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, we need to research that. It's a great question that we appreciate, Natalie. And it'd be fun to be able to answer that. I think just the more original content you can create, the source material that you can point to. Like, I have 370 episodes of my podcast. I mean, Jen, you have like 10 books and hundreds of interviews. I mean, the more prolific you can be in being able to kind of point to source material, and say like, look over here. I've been generating all of it. I've been talking about this. I have been, I have a track record. It's very clear that I've been generating content on this. Then I think that also is maybe a way to, at least now, this is all changing so quickly, but to quote unquote kind of legitimize. I mean, when you say the thought leader game, there's so many ways to look at that too, right? What does it mean? What's sort of accepted in the space? Like, what does it mean in other parts of the world? I know thought leadership in the US, we can unpack this too, Jen, when we have time, but it's like the authoring, the speaking, the writing on Substack, the LinkedIn, the commentary, the research that you might do. There's a lot of, I always recommend that, even the entrepreneurs that I might coach that are just starting out, I might ask them, what can you do a short research paper on? Start your Substack and start to populate it. Begin to commit to 1 or 2 LinkedIn posts a week. Like there's certain, and consider a podcast, or at the very least LinkedIn lives like this, which don't require a team. necessarily to do, but like production is easy these days, like
Mhm.
production and the level of polish that it's expected, I don't think is what it used to be because, as I said, things are evolving so quickly. So, sort of positioning your content as this is evolving for me,
Mhm.
and it's not meant to be. It's just not like the old days where you're like, this is what I say, and I'm putting it and memorializing it, and it
Mhm.
won't change. I
Yeah.
think like the dynamism of it also is a way to iterate like
Mhm.
constantly and say you're iterating,
Yeah.
say you're figuring it out.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
I do,
honesty.
yeah,
Worse, and I
vulnerability.
think, like, if you're operating unethically or out of integrity already, AI is just gonna throw you further faster to the bottom. If you're already operating with integrity, AI is gonna help you amplify that and go up. So I feel like no matter where your default is, AI is going to amplify it, which could be good or bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just to end, like Ruth, thank you for your comment on think of AI as a junior editor who prepares drafts. You're still chief editor who ensures the work resonates with your voice and your values. I love that way
Mhm.
of understanding like the partnership that we can have here
Mhm.
that should only enable you to move more quickly. And if it's not, then something's amiss.
Mhm.
uh, but ideally, you have a really great jam with your tools
Yep.
and with the humans and the tools. Like
Mhm.
it's all in the soup.
It's
I
a
think so.
combination of all of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Like a big old soup. I think that's a great visual.
Yes. So anyway, Jen and I are, for everybody that's listening, we're a longer workshop on this
Mhm.
on the 30th of September.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll be posting some registration information about it. But please come with your questions. I think we're gonna have to have time to do one-on-one, Jen, and really listen to like what are you using? What's working well? What do you have questions about? Why is something not working? Just
Mhm.
brainstorming this whole author thought leadership thing with you all, hopefully with a pretty small group. So,
Yeah.
everybody can get some individualized troubleshooting and attention.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited for it because I feel like this could be one of a long series of things because I feel like both you and I are really keeping up on the use of AI. And even then, like I feel like keeping up on is probably even a strong phrase because there's still so much that's happening, like at least through the lens of thought leadership, through knowledge, through wisdom. Like we're really trying to, from content, really kind of stay on top of things. So maybe
Mhm.
it'll turn into something even longer term. But I'm excited about the 30th because we will have time to do deep dives with folks and maybe do some mini case studies and examples with people and
Yeah.
just help uncover those roadblocks in real time, because I think that's another beautiful thing AI can help with, is like uncovering the hurdles and the obstacles that you and I have faced in an analog way, and now it's like we can use this tool to help kind of get people out of that so much faster than before.
Oh my gosh, so excited. And what are the strengths of each tool and
Mhm.
what you use what for? And I mean, like Jen and I will be really like even screen sharing, like
Mhm.
happy to like show like what our prompts look like and maybe some how we set up projects and in various tools. And
Mhm.
there's just a lot of directions it could go. So
Yeah.
we hope to see y'all there.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jen. This was so fun and
Mhm.
great. It was fun to kick around all these concepts of this evolving thing we call, thought leadership and writing and creating and content, because that's honestly it's really exciting. It's a dynamic time. I think it's causing us to really rethink a lot of things, but it's never been as available to
Yeah.
us to be be a thought leader or aspire to be that and
Mhm.
find our audience and really resonate more quickly, like
Mhm.
accelerate that whole process that used to be very, like we say, analog experimentation. Like to build that up would take so long in the past. And I'm really so excited that um,
Yeah.
there's
There's
another
no
way.
easier time to start a thought leadership platform or start a business in many ways. Obviously, there's still, difficulty that comes with both of those things, but it's a lot faster than it was
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Jen. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
everybody for joining us. We appreciate your questions and
Hopefully,
hope to see you again soon for our deep dive on the 30th.
perfection.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.